Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and on today's session, I'm privileged to be joined by the mysterious author, MJ Kuhn. How are you, MJ?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am very well indeed, thank you. All the better for speaking to you about your first-time novel, Among Thieves, which is coming out from our friends at Galance in the UK in September. And the book is available. This excellent novel is available for pre-order from the links attached to our conversation.
Excellent. Yes.
So MJ, we were talking about off camera about how another acronymous author who's a good friend of ours, H.M. Long, was raving to us about your novel. What can you tell us about Among Thieves?
Yeah, so Among Thieves, it's a fantasy heist novel. So it takes place in a world where the magical are persecuted. They're like hunted down. And we follow the story of a mercenary named Raya, who is on the run from that persecution. And so she discovers a way to maybe take down the men that have been hunting her this entire time. But in order to do so, she's going to have to basically con an entire team of thieves into a heist that is doomed to fail. But little does she know that every other member of the team is also running their own scam and planning to betray her too.
Fantastic. So essentially, you're occupying a kind of, I think, a fantasy space that is underexploited, which is taking the heist con genre and drop it into a fantasy setting. I don't think you see that very often.
Yeah, I've seen a few others, and I'm big fans of, or I'm a big fan of the other novels that I've read that are in that genre.
Yeah,
because it meshes two really fun things, right? The kind of like grimy criminal underworld side of a story with fantasy and magic and sword fights and all that fun stuff that I also love.
So where did you get the inspiration for your character Raya?
That is a good question. So I was asked in another conversation why I decided to make Raya a woman. And kind of my answer for this will be similar, where it's like, I don't know. She just kind of sprang into being fully formed in my mind, as crazy as that might sound. But I will say, I think some of the inspiration for her just came from my fascination with betrayal as an emotional touch point in a story and for a character. I think that especially in a heist story, a story focused on thieves and characters that are used to, kind of scraping by and doing whatever they can to survive. I wanted to explore betrayal. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just have my entire cast of characters, Raya included, be kind of cutthroat and willing to do, whatever needs to be done to reach their goals. And that's kind of where Raya was born.
Fantastic. That does indeed sound fascinating. Can you get into some of the other characters who inhabit the novel as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 6 characters, we'll call them like point of view characters. You get 6 points of view when you're reading the book. So one is Raya, of course, who's our, mercenary that I like to say she is, hiding from the men chasing her by changing her identity, and she's hiding from her feelings with sarcasm. So also on the team, we have our kind of ringleader of the team. His name's Callum Clem. And he is the worst. He's known as the snake of the Southern Dock. And he would sell his own mother for a pile of silvers, right? He's one of those kinds of guys.
Right. Yeah.
We also have Nash, who is our smuggler extraordinaire. And she kind of is cocky and confident, but she's a softie at heart. We have Ivan, who is our disguise master and our forger, who is running from a dark past of his own. Tristan, who is like our charismatic little con man. And lastly, we have Evelyn, who is she used to be a very upstanding and, straight-laced guard of the city, who was brought low by none other than Raya. So she's got her own motivations there. And that's our little cast of rogues.
And so do you alternate between those 6 points of view as the novel progresses?
Yes, and it was kind of fun. It was really twisty to write and really difficult to edit,
Of
because
course.
really we have 6 heists going on in one.
Yeah.
All of the characters have their own plans to, take the loot
Yeah.
for their own purposes, or something to that effect. So as we're jumping from point to point, we may be seeing, kind of echoes of similar scenes we've seen, but now we're seeing it from a character who now we know they have a completely different intention for what just happened. So
Oh, mate, it sounds so fascinating, and yeah, for this first novel, you had what I think is a fascinating journey to completing it. Could you talk about that for a little bit for us?
sure. So for like my writing journey in general, or
Yeah,
Among
you're
Thieves
writing journey.
specifically? Yeah.
Yeah, in general, and then Thieves specifically.
Yeah. So my writing journey in general, I feel like folks that aren't necessarily in publishing and writing hear it and are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy long. And then people that I know that are also writers are like, oh yeah, that's about normal. So Thieves is actually the 5th book that I've written. And so I wrote 3 books and queried them without getting agent representation. I got agent representation for my 4th book, but it didn't end up selling. And then we finally worked a whole bunch on Among Thieves. My amazing agent, shout out Abby Schulman, she's the best. We polished it up, and Among Thieves actually sold pretty darn quickly once we got it shined up and out there. And I wouldn't trade the journey for the world though, because I know I wouldn't want any of those other books to be my debut now that I have Among Thieves. So
And I think the thing is, the key is, you're right. I mean, if you work inside the publishing business in the media, if you work here for a long time, you kind of get used to the way it works and the fact that you've got to, for many years, I was a journalist. I wrote about like music and movies, but the first maybe 5 years I did that, I didn't get paid for doing it, which is the way it works for everybody. Everybody's got a day job where they're writing, and it seems to last forever. And then suddenly one day you find yourself in the situation you're in where it's like, oh man, it's actually happening.
I've got a book in my hands.
Yeah. And what was, it's a very clear mashup of 2 genres, but what was the specific motivation for you to develop Among Thieves?
Yeah, so I always kind of advertise it to folks that obviously people that read in the genre. I'll say, The Lies of Locke Lamora or, 6 of Crows are similar vibes, right? Those are those other fantasy heist stories. But folks not as familiar, I always say it's like Ocean's 11 meets Game of Thrones, right? Brilliant. So you have, you have your Ocean's 11 for heist. I love heist stories. That's probably my biggest motivation for writing it. A whole team of thieves coming together and pulling off a job. Like, you're not used to rooting for thieves necessarily in everyday life, but in a heist story, you absolutely are rooting for those thieves. And then Game of Thrones comes in because of the fantasy elements, but also because of the kind of twisty, I don't know who I want to win. I don't know who's the good guy. Is anyone the good guy here? Like what, the kind of morally gray element that I really enjoy. So that was kind of my motivation for putting together those 2 kind of disparate genres for this story.
Yeah, I think it's a glorious marriage, and of course the 2 things you've name checked, I'm big fans of both, as of most people. Yeah, but thanks. I think I absolutely love Game of Thrones, but I probably love Ocean's 11 even more. I love those movies, love that whole world. So the chance to wallow in both of those things, both of those genres that you love, I think you're giving people a great opportunity to do that. Now, MJ, before we go, I just want to mention real quick that one of the things that we'll link to is you've got a great website. It's easy to find, mjkuhn.com. But you've got a great blog on there where I think around about May time, I think you posted 5 lessons you'd wish you'd learned sooner as a writer. Could you just take me through the rocket fast tour of what those things are?
Oh my gosh, I will have to remember what I wrote in that blog post. It's like a quiz.
Oh, mate, sorry, I've totally put you on the spot. Yeah.
I know. Well, there are a lot of things. I know one of the things, and it's the biggest lesson that I wished I'd learned sooner. And it's the first lesson I'll tell anyone who is looking to get into writing professionally in any regard is find your people, find your, the other writers on this journey. They're not your competition. I know it's easy to look at it that way because we're all sitting on the shelf and, oh, buy my book, not theirs, but like maybe buy both of our books. You're going to need company on this journey. It's a long one, and it can feel really lonely and discouraging, right? It's like any other entertainment industry. There's a lot of rejection on this road. And I didn't find my group of people until I had my book deal. That's a long time. That's like 6 years into the journey. I was forging this path alone. So that is definitely one thing I wish that I had learned a heck of a lot sooner. I think another piece that I put in there was that I wished I had learned to be, patient sooner. Yeah. Patience doesn't come easy to me. I can almost hear my husband laughing already as he watches this back whenever it airs, because he knows I am not a patient person. But there was a great tweet from an agent named Eric Smith who said that publishing works in business months, basically. Like, I'll get back to you in 2 business months, and like, haha, you think it's a joke, but it's not.
Yeah, no, like, that's the way it works.
It's a slow industry. And, a lot of the time on my debut journey, especially, I would be getting panicky and I haven't heard anything in, weeks or whatever. And anyone on this path, just deep breaths. It's going to be okay. Everything just moves a little slower, and, try to be gentle with yourself and, just have a cup of tea and relax.
I think that's excellent advice. I always analogize book publishing, especially, it's like steering the Titanic. It's something that takes a long time to course correct and move things around. You're not getting any quick Spider-Man style acrobatics when people come back to you.
Definitely not.
So MJ, before we say farewell, after once again talking about this fantastic first published novel of yours, Among Thieves, which you can order from the links attached to our conversation. Not you, but the audience, because you've already got yours, but the audience watching, you've got yours right there. There we go. It's right there. You can order from the links attached to the conversation. What are, outside of Ocean's 11, which you've already name checked, can you name any of the heist movies that are favorites of yours?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously all of the Oceans, like even Ocean's 8, I know it gets some hate, but it was very good as well.
I think it's good.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
I actually think it's better than Ocean's 12. Sorry. Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. Ocean's 12, yeah, which I still like, but it's the weakest of the 3.
Yeah.
The Italian Job. That's a great choice.
Yes. Well, the Italian Job is fun because it was the first heist movie that I've seen, at least, where you do see some betrayal on the team, on a large scale, which I guess spoiler, but it happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie. So mini spoiler alert for the beginning of the Italian Job. But yeah, and most of them have been novels, though. The entire Gentleman Bastard sequence is very solid. I read that. Thankfully, it's under my maiden name, so no one can find it on the internet. But in high school, I did just a horrible YouTube video for a class where we were acting out scenes from The Lies of Locke Lamora.
Fantastic.
It's been a favorite of mine for a very long time. Yeah. So, and then of course, Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, Lee Bardugo. Honestly, I would even say Solo, the Star Wars film featuring Han Solo, the most recent one. I would call that a heist.
I think that is both a heist, and that's actually been rather underrated as a movie. Yes, I think if you go back, it's actually better than its reputation, that film.
Yes. If you're looking for a standard Star Wars film, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're looking for space heist, you're going to be happy.
Right on. And heists, of course, are in vogue at the moment. Big part of Avengers Endgame is that it's a heist movie for an hour in the middle of it. Which the end of that movie is so absolutely epic. You tend to forget it's a 3-hour film, right? You tend to forget the whole midsection is a heist movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I think you're definitely capturing that heist zeitgeist. And thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on the book, which is a fine piece of work. And everybody I know who's checked it out absolutely loves it. And you should be very, very proud of it, mate.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to chat with you. I'm so honored. This has been so much fun.
It's been a lot of fun. And the honor is all ours. And you have been watching MJ Kuhn talking about an amazing book, Among Thieves, available for the links attached here. And you take care of yourself, mate, and we'll see you soon. Come and visit us in London.
Yes, I would love to.
After the pandemic, or at least once
Right.
the pandemic has come under some form of control.
Once we're all safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Take care and all the best.
You too.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.